If everybody's ready, I want to introduce myself. My name is Myron Portier. I am the designer of this Oakland exclusive clothing that you see me wearing. I am also the partaker of the shop side of the barber shop here at Skrilla's. I'm going to also introduce Mario Bell, who's the shop owner and the president and founding president of the Men Amongst Men Motorcycle Club. And he's got a whole lot more titles. He also has a towing business that is seems to be doing quite well in the town. Also, next I'm going to go with my brother Glenn Upshaw, who is a very good friend of mine. Let him give his intros, but we go back in so many different ways that I felt it was definitely a good thing to have him here amongst this discussion. And then thirdly here, I'm going to go with my brother Scott Alexander, who is the Fremont coach and art athletic director of the basketball team. And, he's got a couple of other things that I'm sure he's going to tell you as well. And then I'm going to also introduce our guest of honor, who is Treva Reid. And, I'm sure we hope to get a lot of good information out of her today. But first, I want to start by allowing Mario to, speak his spiel about, his plight in the town, and just give you got a couple minutes, if you don't mind. You want to just tell everybody a little something about yourself, more than I've already said.
How y'all doing? I'm Mario Bell, everyone. I'm an individual and a native of Oakland, California, as far as from West Oakland, North Oakland to East Oakland. So at the end of the day, as far as me being a native of Oakland, I ended up doing certain things. I got over it, so it's past in my pastime now. But it's a lot of things we definitely need to get things straight around here for our next generations to come. You know what I mean? To be able to be helpful in a manner to a point where we can be able to share what we have. You know what I mean? I understand about speaking things like that, but I want to be able to give something to where we can be able to show better we can tell, you know what I mean? So that's my own thought process and opinion. So.
Thank you, Martin.
I'm Glenn Upshaw, born and raised in Oakland, been here all my life, had a great childhood. Started becoming a problem in the community when I started becoming an adult. I leached on to what was available, which I didn't need to for no needs, but it was part of the bad that was in the community, selling drugs. And in my later years, I found out if you just sell drugs, crack to one person, you're breaking that chain of generation of tradition. And I was part of breaking that tradition in a lot of ways in the things that I've done. And fast forward to I started in outreach in 2011, and I started seeing that effect that was taking place, and it's still taking place today. That chain has been broken so bad that we've lost generations of tradition in our African American community. So now we had the crack epidemic, but now it's a gun epidemic that we're fighting against now in our community. And guns are more available than crack was in that day. And so that's where my fight has been. 2016, it wasn't so bad. We were knocking down the homicide rates. That's collaborative with the resources in Oakland. And we were getting a grip on it. The pandemic came. A lot of money came behind the pandemic that bought a lot of guns in our community. And fighting to bring the tradition back from back in the 80s and fighting against these guns today is a real challenge. And that's where my heart is trying to restore our African American tradition in our community. Not just in our community, but I would love for us to be a model for other people to take on to restore our African American tradition. And that's my pitch.
Thank you. Scott?
My name
Scott Alexander. I'm a school teacher at Fremont High School. Been teaching since 1993. Started off in San Francisco. I also coach basketball. I'm the athletic director of Fremont High School. Currently, athletic director and basketball coach at Fremont High. So I'm on the ground with them every day. So a lot of the kids that's not making it home at night, and a lot of kids that's getting out into this, these problems that we got going on. And I'm also hopefully a part of the solution with getting several kids to college from this neighborhood, trying to make sure that we help out and get them educated as much. I mean, sports is one thing, but I think, the big picture is life and making sure that these kids live and they become great fathers, great citizens, and great people. So I just wanted to be a part because my family over here, and I worked with actually this guy before a few years back, and just interested in seeing Oakland go further and clean up a little bit.
All right, well, if you don't mind, bless us with your...
Yeah, I don't know where you want me to start after these amazing intros. I mean, Mario, thank you. Thank you for opening up this space for us. We were at Apartment C, hosting a forum and really having community come together to talk about what's important and getting us back to having real neighborhood love and investing back into the neighborhood, investing back into the lives, but having people who have lived and endured a lot of what we're experiencing right now. My mom's a retired public teacher, my brother's a public school teacher, and thank you. That's 29 years of serving as a Black man teacher, helping to empower our students. That's incredible. And thank you for bringing us together. This is a good forum. I mean, hearing just even what you're just talking about, it just made me think about what we've all come through, what I've come through. Like, I've lived this life. My father moved here when I was 10 years old. But just living what we're enduring and experiencing right now. I've lived the deep trauma of losing our son to gun violence in 2013. I've lived having contracts on my life at that season of my life with who I was dating. And I've lived coming out of my own violence with intimate domestic and partner abuse, that's what this month is about, uplifting domestic survivors and those who come through those experiences. I've lived, being unemployed and coming off of welfare and WIC and trying to get myself together. And we have to invest more deeply into our community. When I came on the city council, I declared gun violence a public health crisis because too many of us were dying. And we were not investing in the deeper rooted issues that are there before us with gun violence. It was making sure that people had housing stability, that they had food, that our schools were invested in, that we had programs and activities, and we've had 2 youth summits. And we've got another youth summit coming up, wanting to make sure that what we're doing as city leaders is actually delivering for our youth. They don't do the things that we did. They're not outside playing kickball. They're not even playing in our parks, which is sad to say, that they're not experiencing life like we experience in community, out in the neighborhood, and being raised really with that village love. And so we've got to find a way that we're meeting the needs and the hearts of these youth today, creating opportunities. Our youth back there, we're talking with the media people, and they're like, hey, what's that tool? What's that technology? And as a city, we've got to find a new way to invest more deeply into our youth and into our families who are really struggling. I serve as a council member for the part of our city that carries the weight of violence, violent crime, unemployment, of us being unhoused, of families not being supported. And our motto here is love life. And we have not seen that measure of love and investment that actually deliver to take care of our people. And so that's what I'm committed to do. That's what I've been doing. I served on 12 boards of organizations before I come on to city council because I'm really rooted in making sure that we've got strategies and solutions that show up taking care of what people need. We do a day of action out in East Oakland on East 14th Street. We go out there with over 30 community-based organizations, senior serving, youth serving, faith-based organizations, and the city and county departments out there showing up. You're out there on the streets.
Yeah.
You're out there too.
Yes.
And we're out there making sure that we show up, giving our community what they need, meeting them where they are. They're not going to City Hall. When is the last time any of y'all, I know you've been to City Hall, sister. But the rest of the community, like, when have you been to City Hall? City Hall's got to get outside the walls of City Hall and start showing up, meeting people with resources and service, food, housing services, jobs. We're getting free haircuts out there on the block on East 14th. We're giving people houses. We're out there triaging issues of health and mental health, emotional health with Roots Community Health. We're going out there talking to those who are unhoused, and in 1 month, 5 people who are unhoused on International, the blocks that we're meeting at 82nd to 90th, got housing stability. One of them was my friend's father, who didn't know where and how her own father was doing out here on the streets of East Oakland, and to have him come back and show me the keys to his home, but not just keys, but making sure that with that gun violence resolution, we talked about mental health care, substance use care, giving them ongoing supportive services so that people can be whole and healthy and have that sense of peace that we deserve and have too long demanded in our community. Nearly every disparity in this city is falling on the backs of our Black community. And we've got to see some change with results that actually invest in making sure that we have economic and life stability in this city. So I look forward to this conversation and type of questions we're gonna bring out of this, but I'm in it with us.
Well, thank you so very much for blessing us with your information. And like I said, if I hadn't heard directly from you about your intentions and how genuine you are, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation here. And so it means a lot. I usually don't jump into politics. You know, my other half is a lot more involved in certain things that I, you know, I learned a lot, you know, from being around it. And, you know, I guess I'm gonna go into a couple of questions that we might have from our guests in initial, and then I'm gonna go with guests from people who are attending. I'll start with Mario, if you don't mind. If you have just one good question that you might want to ask our potential mayor to be.
Well, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I was one of the individuals driving crazy 20 years ago. So right now, as far as me being a victim of this one lane on International Boulevard, I guess it would be based on an understanding of what can be helped as far as the speed to be calmed down.
Yeah. Talking about on East 14th, the International Boulevard, the bus rapid transit project.
Yeah, so a lot of individuals I see go through the bus lane, and even in the turning signal, the turning lane, and it's the bus lane, and it's just so crazy. So
yeah,
that's what I would ask as far as how we can be able to control that.
Yeah, we gotta have, I don't know that project was well thought out for safety measures. And last year in the budget, we, not we, but council, because I did not vote for this particular measure, they took away our traffic enforcement officers. And so for those of us who are living in really impacted areas, which honestly all across the city, the recklessness has just been off the hook with the impact. And so we've got to have traffic safety measures because we've had too many victims. And what the data will show you, even in that corridor, is that those who have the highest rates of incident and death are Black and seniors. And so we've got to make sure that, as a mayor, that I put forth budget measures that invest in traffic calming and traffic safety measures. The BRT is not going anywhere now. That investment was made, it's there, but we didn't really have an education and outreach program. People don't really know what we're doing out there with the BRT. It's out there, but people are not clearly noting that there are lanes that are designated. So maybe we need to improve the lighting. We need to improve just the crosswalk measures over there. We need lighted crosswalks. We need marked crosswalks. We need calming measures. We need bot dots. We need traffic signals that were kind of removed based on where we put some of the configuration of that BRT. But we also need traffic enforcement officers out there. That's the state highway. And so it's not even just the responsibility of the city, but we need to look at how we partner with our state partners that can help us where our resources are stretched. And our resources are very stretched. Chief Armstrong is talking about bringing traffic enforcement officers back, but we know that that crew is still going to be stretched citywide. And so we've got to be able to have some partnerships with other agencies to help come into the city and with our way of policing that we expect in this city to help us mitigate these safety and traffic incidents. Right now, people don't think that anybody's watching, they're not looking. I support traffic enforcement cameras in these corridors. They certainly work for me when those tickets were $400, $500, and not that I want people to have to pay that. We can find some other ways to help, address the fees associated, but there has to be some accountability. I don't believe on public safety that you get to come and wreak havoc on us in this city. and it goes unchecked in our city, that there's no accountability. I believe that we need to invest deeply into all the violence prevention, intervention, healing, and trauma care, but I also believe that if you're gonna come in here and think that you can just terrorize the town, that's not gonna happen on our watch. It's not gonna happen as a council member, and certainly not as our mayor. And so I'm willing to make sure that we have those accountability measures in place. I put forth $1.5 million of traffic safety improvements into our district along that corridor, and we didn't have the funding to get it done. And so we've got to make sure that we go after state and federal dollars to bring that funding where we may not have it shored up at the city level, because it's disappointing for us to not be able to fund that level of traffic safety that certainly is being demanded right now more. And I will say that I was able to secure in the first part of the budget over, $1.5 million of traffic safety improvements. But we've got to work with AC Transit and hold them accountable. We shouldn't be working to fund to improve traffic safety in this corridor. We've met with them, we've talked with them, and now we've got to hold them accountable to actually bring forth the things that the community has asked to be seen by AC Transit in the area as well.
Like you said, them barriers for the split off of the lane for the bus, that'd be definitely cool to be able to give everybody an understanding that you cannot go over this barrier.
You cannot go there. We have to put some type of lane markers, dividers. I mean, we've got to look at how we improve that traffic safety in that corridor, because it's not working for any of us. We've got kids, we've got seniors, we've got businesses who've been impacted with just what we've redlined, and customers are not able to park there. So we're trying to find out what even that parking solution is, so that businesses along that corridor in a zip code, which is one of the zip codes in our district, that we lost over 500 business licenses. And so when we make decisions like bringing a BRT, and we don't consider the other impacts on just the economic vitality of those small businesses that are impacted, with people not wanting to drive in that area or shop in that area, we've got to do better to come up with programs that support them.
Thank you very much. I mean, if somebody runs into one of those barriers, they'll learn, right?
I learned from getting a ticket. I mean, people learn. You got to put those measures in place for people to learn. This is not working for us. I mean, we're putting stop signs out, we're putting stoplights out, but I also believe that enforcement is key. We are investing in that part of the corridor, business corridor, public safety cameras.
So when you say that the traffic officers have been let go, they are the ones that I guess typically would be the ones that give out.
They cite, they enforce.
Setting up checkpoints and
Absolutely.
looking and making sure that lane that's designated for the bus is the bus, and there's going to be a lot more enforcement. Because when me and Mario, we're standing outside my front sometimes, we've seen some like 5-car accidents.
Okay.
Where the guy he was going 90.
Yeah, you get anxiety just driving down there. I mean, because they're bobbing and weaving. I mean, it's not a safe course. You don't feel safe driving. You don't feel safe walking. And that's not how you make sure that a part of our city that has already felt long like we've not invested in it, we don't need to have any more barriers in place of doing business and living and getting outside and shopping and supporting business in that corridor. I will say that we've got an investment of pedestrian lighting coming, that Caltrans, that is a state highway. We've got some new pedestrian safety lighting coming to that corridor. We've got some new solar powered waste cans coming to that corridor so that they can help partner with us with cleaning it up and making it well lit for people to want to be able to walk in that part on International, I think it's from 40 something all the way to the border of International, with the improvements that are coming from Caltrans Keep California Beautiful initiative, and making sure that we hire from our community in that corridor. So we've got the ELF program there to help beautify it. We've got new lighting coming. We've got new waste cans. When I came into this seat, I was shocked to see that we haven't resourced equitably on something as basic as a waste can. We know that the magnitude of illegal dumping and blight, it sits in East Oakland and it sits in West Oakland. But we only got 12% of garbage cans in East Oakland. How do you give a community 12% of garbage cans when they hold in, the data shows that they got all the tonnage is coming up out of that area. We got more see-click fixing taking place in these parts of the community, and we've not proactively given resources. You don't need 5 council votes to put a garbage can out there. I had a donation from one of our Warriors players a significant donation to just buy garbage cans. They do a lot of cleanup with us with EOYDC, where I serve on the board, and they wanted to give us the resources. They're like, well, we cleaning up out here, won't we just buy you some garbage cans? We found out with the current contract that we've got with Waste Management, we can only bring 10 new waste cans into the whole city under that contract. So we've got to negotiate a contract now with the franchise person who holds this to make sure that we can even bring in the resources that we need for someone to collect it and pick it up. But until then, we need to resource and reallocate where we got the garbage cans that are already in a contract in this city located. That's just the basics. And all of that falls under the leadership and the direction of the mayor. The mayor leads through the city administrator into every department. There is no city employee that works for me except for my city council team. Every city employee works under the direction and the guidance of the mayor. Hire, delivering critical services, timely response. And as the mayor, I have the opportunity to allocate more equitably a $3.8 billion budget. As a council member, I'm negotiating. We negotiated on $50 million, and it felt like the Hunger Games. We over here all trying to scrap off a piece of something for our districts. And I'm like, why doesn't, as the mayor, you go out, before that budget is delivered, you go to each district, hey, let's go meet, let's have town halls, let's listen to your people together. Not you just listening to your people, let me go out so that I can craft a budget that's gonna deliver on, not all of those priorities gonna get delivered on, but I'm gonna tell you which ones we're gonna work towards. I'm gonna let you know, and the ones that are not gonna get delivered on, we're gonna talk about what the feasibility is, what that reasonable time frame is, and if we even have the staff to get it done. And if we don't, where we partner with state and local and county partners to show up with us, to collaborate and leverage our resources better together.
Well, I guess we're going to go to the next question, and that was some good food for me. We'll go with Glenn.
Thank you. Yeah, I know I've had the honor to work with you. We've had several summits. I definitely appreciate. I've talked to you several times, your staff. Great conversation. And we've had summits where we pulled the community together, and it was so genuine that I appreciated that. My job was trying to get folks out to see how city council worked and how to get down and vote to make things change in the community. And you were so honorable about telling them those resources without campaigning. And it was so genuine. We were just trying to get messaging across for people to take place, like you say, City Hall, come down and trying to educate. But that has nothing to do with my question. My question, I just wanted to say how much I appreciated that because I hadn't told you. But my question is, I know my priority is gun violence, and I know you put in a measure about gun violence. But how would you take that on if you were mayor? What would be some of the steps that you would take to try to curb that? And I just heard like the officers that's been shot across the country just recently, now they want to cry about some kind of gun measure when we've been crying about gun measures for years. But now that it's hit a different community, it seems to be serious, but it's been serious here. And that's my biggest concern is gun violence because we're losing our folks at a younger and younger age. So.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is one that's just really personal for me. I started working not just with Men of Influence with you, but through your other role with the Brady campaign when I worked for Senator Nancy Skinner when she was in the state assembly and was our state budget chair. I was leading out as her senior aide in this area. I took the lead on a lot of her violence prevention, outreach and engagement, certainly statewide, but locally here, bringing partners like Youth Alive and coming to the table with a lot of advocacy groups. It was in the midst of me leading out for her, particularly with one bill, AB 48, which was her bullet bill, that our son Brandon was murdered Halloween night 2013. And what I thought was real for me from what we just live in the community that we've too long endured was a level of trauma and tragedy that we still don't know how to fully speak to. And so that work around gun violence and regulating ghost guns and putting legislation out there, and certainly putting the resolution out there to declare a public health crisis it's significant, not just in paper, but it's significant that we made a historic investment of $18 million into violence prevention, intervention, and healing and trauma care, and even into school safety. So as the police were removed from our school systems here, the city made an investment to invest in restorative justice measures, invested in peer-to-peer counseling support so that we can work to mitigate that threat of crime, that threat of violence, putting violence interrupters in the school and more violence interrupters out here on the street, getting life coaching, getting emergency relocation service, getting trauma survivor compensation, victim compensations, things that we hadn't done before. But it also called on the county to take their $300 million in American Rescue Protection Act funds and invest more equitably into Oakland, into rental assistance, mortgage assistance, affordable home ownership programs, food security, mental health, behavioral health care, culturally responsive people on the ground, people who lived what we're talking about at Department C. You've lived it, you've endured it. How do we hire you and you invest back and give back into the communities? And they'll say some of the communities that they added a lot of harm to. So how do we turn this around and bringing people into the solution with strategies that actually know how to help us restore life in communities that they may have been a part of lives they've taken or had their own life at risk. And so that's a part of that resolution. We got $50 million in county and $50 million in food security, $48.5 million into community-based organizations that go out on the ground with their street credibility, with their relationship as trusted partners to get the work done. And as mayor, I want to double that investment from the city into violence prevention. I want to double that investment into school safety. I want to double those investments into partnerships with organizations like Men of Influence and Youth Alive and many others that are actually doing the work and helping us to realize some outcomes. And we need more of that. Our children don't feel like we've invested in them. They don't feel like they're going to school and they feel like it's a daycare. And this is what I'm hearing from summits. They go to the schools. We got some of the highest truancy rates right now because they don't feel that they're having the support that they need. So we've got to invest in our teachers. We got to make sure that we're doing with teacher housing, allowing our teachers to be rerouted here. We got a program called TRIO, Teachers Rooted in Oakland, and we just got $5 million more to help provide teachers housing stability, beautiful housing and stipends also to help offset some of those costs. We've got to invest in our Oakland resilient families, where families who are struggling have an additional $500 extra a month to use as they see fit to invest in their families or to invest in their entrepreneur programs. Gun violence is the root of it, is that we haven't provided a lot of opportunities for families who are struggling out here. But we've got to learn how to restore healthy paths between people who are committing these crimes. And that's going to come from partners like you who know how to get to the heart of the issues with the people who are facing those issues. Our children don't know how to resolve conflict. My cousin's life was just lost yesterday. And to hear how his life was lost, how his life was taken by someone who knew him, who we thought was a friend, a trusted friend, there's some, and to have that violence take place with a baby in the car and his girlfriend in the car, like the street code that we grew up with, where you don't endanger children or women. It's not the case, and so we need Black men going out to mentor. We got the OK program that I support. We need Black men going out to pour back into doing what you're doing every day, pouring back into our community members who don't feel heard or seen, who don't feel supported with a father or a male figure in their life, or even a mother figure or a woman figure in their life. We got people who were raised in the crack cocaine generation who didn't have support, and now their children are coming up not feeling supported. And so we got to help the parents, like we got to help the children with programs and services that really do show up to help them. I've launched a business called Try. The time that coach lost his life in front of his students at Concordia Park, 100 rounds went off around Castlemont. And we had Skyline football players leaving practice. We had Castlemont players coming on. And parents were concerned about their kids going to that one safe place that they had in the midst of COVID for their kids to be okay. I started taking kids home. San Lorenzo, San Leandro, because their moms didn't want them going home in the 80s. They were going over their aunt's house or their grandmother's house or our cousin's house. Then we got the OK program to come in and start bringing a van in to take kids home, and that wasn't sustainable. Well, I'm not OUSD, and I went to OUSD to try to work out a program with them. That didn't happen. I got budgeted in the city's budget $25,000 for transportation services, and got a partner to invest $20,000 with me so that we can provide free ride share through a youth ride share company to get all of our after school programs at McClymonds and Castlemont, particularly for the football team, to and from practice safely. So that's something that we can look at how we expand that to Fremont and other schools that might need that support as well. So I'm committed to investing in our schools, and when I see the need, I hear the need, I'm trying to show and find other people to join with me to get it done, and I want to do that same with our commitment to supporting teachers and Black teachers.
That factor amongst all the other factors, there's a lot of different cultures. We've always been known as the most culturally diverse city in the world.
Yeah.
But yet, those cultures kind of overlap and overspill, and then there's a lot of non-understanding of those communities, all those cultures. And so, what might you be able to do to bridge the different culture gaps that are sometimes creating, a lot of adversity?
I think we gotta come together and we gotta have real conversation, different types of cultures together in community. But I think we've gotta have that space to come through those race divides, those cultural divides, and really appreciate who we are and start looking out for each other as just neighbors. We don't see that like we saw it growing up. There's a lot more divide now, and I just believe that we've got to have a leader that knows how to bring us together, bring community together, bring partnership together. We see that with our business chambers. Our ethnic chambers all work well together. Our Black, our Latino chambers, our Asian Chinatown chamber, our Little Saigon Vietnamese chamber comes together with our metropolitan chamber, and I'm seeing that in the business community, and I know that we do that with community-based organizations, and we may do that more siloed, but we've got to find that path of how do we actually build that together. I think that we're doing that with our Day of Action. I think our Day of Action brings our Latino task force out. We've got African-led organizations out there in that community serving those who need that support, and it's really about how do we show up for the people. And I think the more that we create those spaces and those opportunities for us to build relationships with resources and services together and get outside of whatever our individual agendas have been, will help us to create more community and showing up and serving the community, cleaning up the town, across the town together, or showing up with resource opportunities like the Day of Action. I want to get back, Scott, you shared something about just the gender-based violence. We just did a summit with some organizations on just gender-based violence, and we've made some significant investments into those areas, particularly for girls. And for girls to have some mentors to come alongside. I think about the trauma that I endured with just childhood abuse and just getting some distorted perspective about life, love, and family, and not having a safe place to talk about what was happening in my life, what I was experiencing, what I was enduring, and we've got to create those safe spaces for girls. We're seeing more of these male mentor programs come up, which we need. We got Hidden Genius, we got the OK program, and we need to make sure that our girls are having that safe place to be supported, to build confidence in themselves, to build identity in themselves versus what they're seeing and experiencing in community. And I think that that's that opportunity for us to wrap our arms around our daughters, who all don't maybe have mothers there that are mothering them in healthy ways, or that village of support to help them to address some of the challenges that they're experiencing and why they may be acting out. Is it acting out of a fear? Is it acting out of something that you experienced that happened to you that you didn't get to process in a healthy way? So we've got to create those circles for our sons and our daughters in these schools. And for our LGBTQ community members who have not felt supported at an early age. A lot of the transitional age housing that we're building are for our foster youth, kids who've gotten put out, who've not had that village, and for our LGBTQ students who've not felt a village of support. And we've had to create those spaces for them just for that life stability and housing stability, but we got to start in the school and those relationships being built there. Girls are being sex trafficked and human trafficked, and we don't know when they're coming to school what they're really dealing with. We don't know what happened in the home. I mean, when I was sexually abused in my family growing up, no one knew. I didn't talk about that until my 20s. And so here I am showing up to school and I'm pulling my hair out my side of my hair, and no one knows what's taking place in my life. and we all respond to trauma differently. And you gotta have a safe space, you gotta have education and outreach around what those signs are. Like, we don't have education and outreach on sex trafficking and human trafficking to the degree that we need to have that, and that partnership needs to also come with the county. And so we've gotta really come together to talk about how we've got resources, outreach and education, and culturally sensitive people, and culturally trained teachers and educators there that know how to identify those signs and recognize those signs, and maybe bring those people into a safe place and say, hey, I see you, I hear you, now how do I help you?
I'm gonna give Gerald and
It's all of our space, y'all. This is for all of us. Mario, get in here.
I'm listening, I'm just listening.
Well, just like the brother has his business right here, clean in front of it. It seems like it's well respected because he's from this community. I can remember growing up, you got T-shirts and more Ricky's cleaners right there. You have different black businesses that was on right on Foothill. There was 4 people, all black businesses on there. I was wondering, because I was asking earlier, like, are the buildings that's vacated in Oakland, are they county-owned businesses or county-owned, or are they city-owned? And the reason I asked that question is because I was thinking, just like his business looks clean in front, no problem about it. Is there any possible way to, and I don't know if Glenn has a place where he does his own business, where he has a local spot, but is there any kind of way to give these brothers that put back into the community a viable spot and location in the area? Because my personal, just probably a personal opinion, but I think they would be better served to be able to help keep the area clean and keep the areas more secure than any policeman that you could get, because they're respected. We respect these dudes, so, and people know about them, and so since they're well respected, if we kind of invest back into the guys that's doing this stuff, give them buildings, give them places to hold court, basically, is there any possible way of that being done without taking from their pockets and getting grants, loans, or whatever it is, to make sure that they can do computer programs? Because I'm going to come to this program because I know what he did. I'm going to come here because I'm comfortable because of who he is. Some of the places that we see now, I'm not going in there. You know what I'm saying? Just because you don't respect the area, you got, like I was telling him, you got feces in front of it. You got it's disrespectful, it's nasty. And I'm not doing that. So just thinking about the 80s and seeing all that white down there, it's a terrible look for Oakland. It's a terrible look. I mean, I don't know what we could do, but I was just saying, is there any possible way to reinvest in these guys and doing what they're doing and give them buildings, give them opportunity so they can work right out of there and they can keep the area clean? Because I'm pretty sure this word is going to go a lot further than any policeman out here. You know what I'm saying? I was wondering.
No, I think community take care of community, and we would love to see more of the properties in our community owned by our community. I'd love for us to rent and own more. A lot of those properties are not city-owned properties. They're private people that hold on to their properties, and we've got a measure out there, I think it's Measure W, that really addresses those who don't upkeep and beautify their property or their parcels, so that we can hold them accountable to what it should look and feel like. But we don't own a lot of that property, but how do we partner with some of those companies? We've got ESO Ventures, which is an $8 million investment from the state to really raise up as an incubator for entrepreneurs. And people come through that program and cohorts graduate, and we don't have brick and mortar to put them in. So we're trying to figure out what land we have, what city-owned property we've got, and we probably have more land parcels than I've seen buildings, like facilities. We don't have a lot of facilities that are vacant to do it. But where we've had land and people have had ideas and opportunities, like at 104th and MacArthur, not that type of business, but we have 20,000 square feet of property, this parcel that used to be a hotel, drug infested, prostitution took place there, and now it's a community garden. Homies has a freedom farm there where they're feeding and nourishing 300 people from 100 plotters while we wait to build housing on that lot. We've got some land in other pockets that we're looking to convert for co-ops to use, black-owned co-op, farmers markets to use this land. So we've got land, more availability that we can use, surplus land until we build something on it. I'm not seeing a lot of property. But the property that we do have, I think there should be fee waivers and opportunities for us to actually support businesses. The city has not supported Black and women-owned businesses. The disparity study that's out there that we are looking to adopt next year, and once adopted, we can make more race-conscious decisions, saying that we haven't taken care of Blacks, we haven't taken care of women-owned businesses, we've got to do that more. $500 billion have gone out of to Black and women-owned businesses. 1.4 billion is what we've gone out. So we've let billions of dollars go out the door that we've not created opportunities for Black-owned businesses to be sustained, to have money to rent a building or to buy a building. And so as the mayor, I've got to make sure, one, that we work to get this study completed and that council adopts it, for us to be able to make decisions in every department that I have to open up contracting opportunities to support our Black and women-owned businesses, to give them the economic empowerment to buy property, to rent and lease in our community, and to stay serving here and supporting those out, in those corridors. We got to clean it up. So you want to jump in there?
Oh, no, I will, but finish.
The trash cans is one thing, the waste management contract is another thing. We've got to have some designated proactive crews that actually show up. We do walking block parties, and they got to actually be on the blocks. Like, we've got to create a culture of cleanliness. I grew up, don't be a litter boy. There was a strong education campaign that I still am scared to throw a piece of popcorn that could compost somewhere on this ground, maybe. But we've got to have an education campaign. We've got to have outreach. We've got to hire environmental enforcement officers. For 10 years, we didn't have litter enforcement officers on the street. We just start bringing them back here. We've got to hire into community-based organizations. If this is your block, you love this block, how do I pay you to clean this block? And keep it clean and beautiful. Like, I believe that's an opportunity that you can get workforce skills and training that maybe you begin to own your own landscaping, cleaning, janitorial service program. Like, how do we create that opportunity for hiring from our community, supporting our community? We got 700 budgeted vacancies in the city right now that could be going to Oaklanders working here to have that income to invest back into businesses. But most of the properties to that point are not owned by the city. I haven't gotten a list of those that are owned by the county, but the county is trying to work with us. That old Walgreens at 82nd and International, when Walgreens decided to close, giving us less than 30 days notice, we went to that property owner. I've tried to negotiate with this property owner for them to allow us to buy this property, allow the community-based organizations to buy that property. I said, there is no one who will take care of this property like the community. I promise you it won't be graffiti. I promise you, you won't have litter thrown over into that fence if you bring someone from the community to actually take on this property with community-based services that actually show up benefiting us. And we had a proposal. Some of the Black Cultural Zone partners, Oakland Post was at the table. We had a collective, AASCG was at the table, really trying to work with the property owner there to say, let us take on ownership, even a lease to own of this property, or to just lease it, so that we can show you how we can create an opportunity with that piece of land and that property with services that are supportive of the community around it. And private properties have their own interests, and it's still vacant, and it's still blighted. Mm-hmm. And so working to hold them accountable has been a challenge to make sure that they deliver for something that's going to actually benefit the community. So the county is looking at a number of properties. That's one of those properties. The county has money to buy properties, which is a good thing. And we're looking at seeing how do we use that even for like a mental health, behavioral health, substance use center for individual nonprofits to have that space to serve that community with health, healing, and nutrition services. I think the school right now, we've met with the schools to find out how we can use the school vacant property for housing. How we can use the school property for other community-based type of programs and services. And that has not been something that OUSD has moved quickly on. And as the mayor and a councilor, we don't have jurisdiction over telling them what to do with that property, but we've certainly been at the table trying to find out how their strategic master plan is actually gonna be strategic with solutions and not excuses for how we show up with that property being used for the community. And what joint use facilities between city and OUSD properties can be a benefit to programs and services for youth and families.
Everybody.
Things that hit close to home for me, you know, as far as, you know, gun violence being someone in my son's life was taken from a gun. So I can deal with that. You know what I'm saying? I know about that. And as far as AC Transit, I'm an AC Transit bus operator. So I know about this. I drive and take off every day. So
You
y'all
can
touch
give us
that.
some input to take back to AC Transit for our next meeting.
Nah, and me personally, I said the same thing you said. It wasn't thought out right. You know, being from Oakland, driving the streets in Oakland, knowing what's going on in Oakland. As soon as I saw what was going on, I said, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Before it even, you know, when they first started telling us what they was gonna do, I said, it's
You've narrowed the lane,
It's-
you've got
it's-
one
it's a
lane.
disaster
in the
waiting to
highway
happen.
area.
But my question is, and you know, being that I started a nonprofit last year in my son's honor, and you know, I recently joined the Black Cultural Zone. I was at the Dragons, meeting
Oh,
at
you
the
were
Dragons
there?
last
Okay.
week. Yeah, so I'm trying to get involved in the community because I was one of those ones that was, they don't care, you know, it is what it is. But I really see now, getting older, that Oakland was better when Oakland ran Oakland. You know what I mean? So, me personally, I want to do my part, just because watch this went from like a, you know, a city where everybody wanted to come because they heard so much about Oakland. It was like, we got to come see Oakland, we got to see Oakland. Now it's like, you know, being from Oakland, we can't afford to live in Oakland, but Oakland looking like a third world country right now. You know what I mean? So it's just like, my thing is, listening to what you're saying is, is it somewhere, place where, or some sort of way that we can get this message out with all these programs that you're talking about, these grants that's available? I think a lot of it is ignorance because we don't know it's available to us. You know, I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, from my passengers, co-workers, friends, and I'm also the vice president of Mid-Months Men Motorcycle Club.
Okay.
So, you know, with the bike set, all this stuff, it's a lot of people with entrepreneur minds, but they just don't know where to go to get it started. They feel like I gotta do it on my own, you know, and that's a lot of reasons why things don't happen, because you feel like you're alone, you don't have that help. And all the resources you just spoke on, it's like, if we could get that out to people, just like how the Warriors say, it's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
So the more people we can get it out to, that they can know, okay, it is help. You can apply for this loan. You can do this, get this grant. You can, they having this, like what we having right now. They having this, come out and get the information. Is it available to us like that without having to, because everybody can't make these type of meetings. You know, everybody can't make these type of meetings, and then some meetings you go to, they don't want you videotaping. They don't want to put it out, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason. How can we get this out to the people that don't know about it, and where they can legitimately go to a website or, you know, get on a waiting list or something, you know what I mean?
You know, one of my challenges coming to office is that we really don't do a lot of proactive communication.
Right.
People don't know the programs, they don't know the service, they don't know the Royal Bill. We got some incredible sound equipment there for our young people who want to get and produce and make music and use that type of technology right there. Like, they don't even know that it's available at this center that no one is going to. And so we have not done a good job under the administration, and that's the role of the mayor. The mayor's role is to make sure that our public information officers, our communication team, that we're getting the message out. Everything won't be by web because a lot of people not tapped in. We just got old Wi-Fi expanded. Right. You know, we're just breaking through the digital divide in COVID, where we're just getting like 12% of students had technology tools before COVID. Now 98% just got it. Like, we're just getting families, hotspots. And so we've got to find ways, getting out in the street, working with community-based organizations and partners that got the street cred. I believe that we've got to build on those relationships. I believe that where we've invested in the Black Cultural Zone Messenger program, which I just put $175,000 in to hire 50 more people to get out and help spread that message door to door in the communities. So we've got to have that type of outreach and engagement where it is that door to door. It is that neighbor to neighbor initiative. It is that having resources and services in partnership with faith organizations and community organizations. I just made sure that we invested $500,000 into East Oakland serving community groups. in this last budget to make sure that those groups were equipped with the capacity for their people that they're serving to know what we have available and to have the resources to actually serve them. So I think as mayor, I'm gonna do more of that because that's where I see the need. I'm in the trenches on the ground. I'm seeing the organizations that are not funded, doing a lot of good work that don't know how to tap into our RFP process. And so when I made these budget decisions, I was looking for those community groups and those partnerships that don't really know and understand this process. And I'm like, don't you worry about it. We're gonna get you in the budget. And then you're gonna learn how this system works. And so I think we need to make sure that we have that opportunity expanded citywide. We're telling you about what we have available as we're learning about the work that you're doing. And you got the track record already. But we've got to hire from our community to get that message out. I think we've got to have that cultural, linguistic partnership, people who can speak the language, who understand the people that we're trying to reach, working with us to engage with that messaging. And we have not done a good job of doing that. You know, when as a city, less than 30% of voters show up to vote for the mayor, and only 60% of those, and I believe 8 years ago, who showed up, out of that 30%, 60% of that 30% came from 2 districts. District 1 and District 4, North Oakland, Montclair area. So when you're having that type of representation bringing on the mayor for the last 12 years, we've not had a mayor from deep East Oakland. We've never had a mayor in 170 years from the deepest, most impacted area of our city. We've never had a black woman mayor. We've never had a single mother mayor who knows how to make a way out of no way, who has lived and endured many of these things that we're talking about. People don't feel heard and served and represented or resourced in. And so I believe who we have as our leadership in this season, that we're crying out for change and accountability and results, and someone showing up for us, it's gonna take a different type of leader. Someone who's been on the ground doing the work, who knows how to legislate it, I've worked in Fortune 500 companies. I know how to operate in a billion-dollar industry. I have brought up dealerships for Ford Motor Company in the Midwest, some of the worst performing markets that were in the bottom 5 to the top 5 in the nation in less than a year, and being nationally recognized for getting in there on the ground, bringing up market share, market penetration, retail sales growth, parts growth, customer service satisfaction with J.D. Power, off the roofs. But that takes building relationships with people. That took me being gone 3 to 4 nights a week, leaving my babies at home and going out there, hearing from dealers, hearing from customers, understanding how do you drive business to success in this market. We've got to get out to the community to understand how do you build relationships. How do you partner with the people who got the street cred? And how do you take that relationship and leverage it with real resources to make an impact? And how do I make sure that I'm staffed at the mayor in my administration to get the work done? No excuses. They want solutions that drive the change. We'd like to be able to have roots here to create opportunities that we haven't seen. You talk about not being able to pay for the AUA programs. In this last budget, I asked for, I couldn't get this, but I asked for us to do an analysis of what it would cost to be able to change our own application. So our city application right now to waive fees for summer programs, it says you gotta be on food stamps, you gotta be on welfare, as a working families in the city that are not receiving government assistance in those programs that I grew up on and benefited me, not everyone's receiving that program, but mothers like me and other parents in here, we don't have $600 for the program to get our kids in AAU or football. And so the city has to create a new system and look at what that cost would be and where we could budget to cover families who are not low income on government assistance, but meet other criteria to get the support from the city to create these opportunities for our kids to be invested in, to go on those trips, to have those experiences. I invested in Feather River Camp. How many of y'all know Feather River Camp? Okay, I know she knows. Feather River Camp, I advocated in the budget. This is a city-owned, beautiful camp, like 4 hours away, that has free programming for families and kids, where you can get your students, and we can find a bus service partner to pay for the kids to get there, where all that our kids are experiencing with trauma and violence and gun violence are need safe places to pull them away, to just get them away from the environment and the influences. Are those people that they're trying to please? Are those people that they're afraid of? That they're carrying a gun because they're just afraid that somebody's going to try to come for them, and they're just trying to stay protected. But the only way, getting them to Feather River Camp and giving them some training, giving them a place place, the process, giving them programs, giving them perspective, having people who are working in different jobs and roles that they didn't know could be a career path or a learning path for them at a safe place away from this environment, giving families that place when they've gone through losing loved ones to gun violence. And my heart is just, I believe I know your family, and just wanted to make sure that families have that level of care. We've not lived up to our own motto in the city. It's love life. That is our city's motto. And we need to show up with love and action in real tangible, practical ways to support, to see, to keep communities clean. That has added a level of anxiety and depression and mental health issues with just the quality of life and the lack of conditions that we're giving people to thrive in. And I'm fully committed because I live in the community. I live amongst all of these issues that we talk about. My corner's got candles and balloons, and it's not celebrating nobody's birthday. Too many of those corners have mattresses, candles, and balloons, and waste. And so I'm working to prioritize communities that have been underrepresented, that have not had that value or investment. And as a mayor, I'm going to see this. Children don't feel safe going to school, and they feel that they're a target at school. That it's just disturbing. The 2 schools that have had the shooting incidents and the mass shooting, even Tech has had shooting incidents at graduation, threats, and I want to be a part of coming up with solutions that keep our children safe at school and creating those, those investments that don't allow people to feel like they can just come up and take someone's life. And that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of investment. It's going to have youth at the table helping us come up with those strategies and solutions. I don't think that we all know how to do it because it's grown so rampant with that type of crime rising, and we've not had our youth at the table to hear from you how you're being impacted and how we can better support you. And so I think that first step is creating that space like we're doing with the youth summits in partnership with a lot of youth that are impacted and at risk, but supporting those students who are not the ones who are causing the trouble. They're not the ones who are involved in the trouble. They're the ones who are just trying to show up and go to school and get an education and connect with their friends. And so we've got to come up with that path to do that. But we've got to have that kind of zero tolerance that you don't get to come into the city and terrorize, because we're watching and we see you and we're going to hold you accountable. You don't get to roll up on a school. You don't get to bounce out on a school property and not think that we're not going to see you and address it and stop you. The fact that they believe that they can do that is a problem here. They don't believe that we got enough officers in place that are watching. They don't believe that we got community safety ambassadors. They don't believe that we got some grown men around these campuses, some fathers and some uncles who we're investing and hiring that are helping to foot patrol around our school. I don't think that they're gonna roll up if they see a certain type of individual helping to keep us safe at our school. And so we gotta hire from our community around our school. And there are programs like that we've seen across the country. And I want to say that the program in Houston for housing and making housing a first priority has been a model in the country. And I think that that's a program that we can invest in, getting people housing, getting them off the street, and then getting them the services and the support that they need. But I think that we've got to have a different type of presence in school. We've got culture keepers at OUSD. That I think your reaction is what we're hearing. And so as we remove police from schools, we never engage with students and parents to say, what does security presence look like? What does that feel like? And I'm committed to bringing you to the table to say, what does security look like? If it's not culture keepers and it's not OPD, then how do we create that type of a program? We're doing that with housing. We've got urban alchemy that's now coming in to help us with how we respond to serving those who are unhoused. And urban alchemy consists of those who are formerly incarcerated, those who lived unhoused. Like, we've got to have people who lived it, who endured it, that serve it and know how to show up to help come up with strategies and solutions and support for those communities that are impacted. And we need to do that for the schools as well.